Meantime, the situation on the ground in Iraq is as confusing as ever tonight after U.S. forces engaged in the first known gun battle against Iraqi police officers, the very people they are there to support. NBC's Jim Miklaszewski is at the Pentagon tonight with more. Mick?
Good evening, Lester. The U.S. has spent billions of dollars training and equipping Iraqi police. But today, some of those same Iraqis turned their training and guns on American soldiers. The firefight between the Americans and Iraqi police took place just outside the government green zone. It started at 2 a.m. when U.S. Special Operations Forces launched a raid to arrest an Iraqi police lieutenant accused of leading a cell of Shiite militia in attacks against American troops. But as the U.S. forces drove away with their prisoner, Iraqi police manning a checkpoint on an overpass opened fire on the Americans.
That turned those individuals into enemy and legitimate folks for our troops to take on.
U.S. forces fought back, but were quickly surrounded, taking heavy fire from rooftops in all directions. Trapped, the Americans called in a strike from an AC-130 gunship to cover their escape. 6 Iraqi police and 7 militia were killed in the firefight. There were no American casualties. But in January, Iraqi police were complicit in the kidnapping and killing of 5 U.S. soldiers in Karbala. A U.S. military investigation found police provided insurgents with information about the Americans' location, then abandoned their post just before the attack.
We simply don't know whose side the police are on in any given situation, and that ultimately has to be an issue of great concern for any U.S. soldier.
An even greater concern, U.S. military officials say the Iraqi police lieutenant taken into custody today has ties to Iran's Quds Force, raising fears of growing Iranian influence over Iraqi security forces.
I think we've been pretty straightforward in saying all along that the Iraqi police were a challenge.
The Iraqi Interior Ministry, which is in charge of police, had no comment on today's clash. And while it's always been tough for American soldiers to tell friend from foe in this war, it's even harder when the enemy is wearing the uniform you provided. Lester?